Welcome to NACD BoardVision, where leading boardroom advisors, governance professionals, and seasoned directors discuss critical issues related to your responsibilities in the boardroom.
Welcome to NACD's BoardVision. I'm Peter Gleason, Managing Director of the National Association of Corporate Directors. Joining me again today is John Barry, leader of PwC's Center for Board Governance. Today, John and I will be discussing succession planning, without a doubt one of the board's most critical responsibilities. John, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Peter. I'm happy to be here.
2010 saw its share of unexpected CEO changes, and the reasons behind them ran the gamut. But they didn't all stem from poor performance at the company. Many were true surprises, a few unexpected crises, and in some cases, health problems. We've seen this play out in various scenarios over the past several years, but events like these clearly spell out the board's need to have a succession plan for good times and bad, both the emergency plan and the long-term plan. The need for succession planning is not new to boards, but it's an area that they continue to struggle with. Our surveys show that this is perennially a top issue for boards, as it should be. Primary to the board's role is selecting the right CEO, and even after they find the right CEO, they have to start thinking about the succession plan again. It's a continuous cycle. John, I know PwC follows this topic closely too. Can you share with us some thoughts on the issue?
Sure, Peter. You're right. Succession planning is a tough issue for boards. In speaking with boardroom executives over the years, we see that some companies handle this responsibility quite well, while others do not. Our 2010 PwC Annual Corporate Directors Survey, with results from over 1,000 corporate directors, also supports this notion. Half of the respondents want their board to spend more time on succession planning, and the other half said succession planning is already a major focus of the board. The survey results also showed that about 30% of directors are not satisfied with their company's succession plan. These results and our discussions with directors indicate there's still more work to be done in this important area.
John, according to Challenger, Gray & Christmas, the average tenure of a CEO in 2010 was about 8.5 years, and that number drops when you move into the largest companies in the U.S. So I find your numbers pretty interesting. Can you shed some light as to why this number is so high?
Peter, my experience is that boards sometimes have difficulty with this responsibility for a number of reasons. Succession planning is a difficult undertaking. It's political and time-consuming. Directors may believe that succession planning could be perceived as being disloyal to the CEO if he or she doesn't buy into the need for such a process. Another significant reason is the board's time constraints and packed agenda. As we all know, board members often have to focus on deadline-driven issues first, and once those are done, there may not be enough time to address this important and strategic duty. Peter, what's your view on this?
Bottom line, this is critical to long-term performance at a company and an imperative board function. I can understand the time constraints, but this needs to be done, and it needs to be done right. The days of the secret envelope in the CEO's drawer in case of emergencies are long gone. There needs to be both an emergency and a long-term succession plan in place that a board continually addresses, even if they're happy with the sitting CEO's performance. Some boards address management succession only as the need arises, but there are real and intangible costs to not having a succession plan. In today's dynamic environment, if a company has an unplanned CEO turnover and the company does not have a succession plan in place, directors' reputations can be at risk.
That's correct, Peter. There are real benefits in having an effective management succession plan in place. We caution directors that the lack of a succession plan has significant drawbacks and costs.
Elaborate on this for a minute, if you will, John, because we're of similar thinking on this one.
I'd be happy to. There are tangible costs such as bringing in an outsider, which is generally more expensive than selecting an insider. The higher cost comes from recruiter fees to be paid and the buying out of the individual's unvested stock and other benefit plans, to name only a few of the costs. There's also intangible costs such as discouraging up-and-coming managers and having a longer lead time for an external individual to integrate into the company, thereby delaying important strategic initiatives during this transition period.
Those are all good points, John, and ones that all boards should consider. Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, looks at a lot of those issues when examining succession planning and long-term performance. Let's talk about why so many companies feel the need to improve this process and just what the different roles are in the boardroom. Directors play an important role in overseeing that a succession plan is developed and executed, but the CEO has primary responsibility in terms of management development at the company. The current CEO should be discussing candidates with the board regularly and sharing who are potential candidates for the position and what other skills and experiences they still need and the action plan to develop these individuals. By all means, the CEO plays an important role. However, this is a board process. The ultimate responsibility for the succession planning should stay with the independent directors. John, a lot of companies struggle with the development of internal candidates and their role in the process. Give me your thoughts on this.
Sure, Peter. Boards need to consider whether candidates are being effectively evaluated and coached and rotated to various positions within the company. They also should be given developmental assignments and attend educational programs to enhance necessary skills. Boards also need to ensure that developmental plans are done well in advance to allow time for CEO candidates to be effectively groomed. Oftentimes, companies wait too long to do this. Directors also can help management mitigate the effects of the horse race between candidates by working with management to make the process constructive and developmental, playing down the political side to the extent possible. Getting to know leading candidates is also important for directors. They can ask these individuals to present at board meetings and to regularly attend such meetings to develop their own perspectives on issues. And Peter, succession isn't about the candidates, it's also about the CEO. It's important for directors to see that the CEO's job criteria is continually updated to reflect the company's current strategy and challenges. Hopefully, this exercise will help the board identify the traits and characteristics that will define the next CEO as someone who can lead the company into the future, not merely duplicate the talents of a previously successful CEO. Developing thoughtful criteria will also be helpful if the company does have to look externally to recruit a candidate. These are a few thoughts on the board's role. Anything you'd like to add, Peter?
Thanks, John. We're of similar mind. I would stress that it's important for the CEO and the board to be on the same page when it comes to the true readiness of the internal succession candidates and making sure of their preparation. I think the timing's critical too. From our research and interviews, starting the whole succession process at least 3 to 5 years from the anticipated event. That gives the board time to address the internal candidates, the developmental issues, if there are any, and survey the external market for talent as well. Now that we've discussed the board's role, do you have any observations on how a board organizes itself to fulfill this responsibility?
Well, Peter, my experience is that I've seen it handled many different ways. I've seen where the full board handles the CEO succession planning and other times where a committee of the board oversees it. In fact, my experience tracks closely to research I've seen which indicated that half the companies have the full board oversee the responsibility for CEO succession planning. And for the other half of the companies, the primary responsibility was split between the Compensation Committee and the Nominating Governance Committee.
I agree, and my experience is consistent with yours. We sometimes even see a dedicated succession committee formed at the onset of the planning to get the process started, but those are usually only temporary committee formations. John, thank you, and I think you gave us some valuable information. I would just stress that the need for boards to stay focused on this important duty and have a plan for both expected and unexpected succession. I would add that boards should make succession planning a regular agenda item for discussion. And for those companies that do have a new CEO, start the succession plan early in the CEO's term so that it becomes routine. That wraps up another edition of NACD's BoardVision. Please visit the NACD and PwC websites for more information on this and other topics. On behalf of NACD and PwC, thanks for joining us.